AskReddit by running in a hurricane. What do a lot of parents do that unknowingly screws their children over? Forgetting what it was like to be that age, and expecting their kids to react differently to things than them when they were that age. Drove me nuts when my mom did that. She'd scream act your age at the top of your lungs, and in my head I'd be like, I'm 12. If I acted my age, we would both be screaming right now. You act your age. Not teach them to think for themselves. Hate seeing when parents try to make all the child's decisions for them. It just makes them grow up clueless on how to do certain things. They fail at letting their kids fail and figure out how to recover. It prevents the kids from becoming resilient. My son once procrastinated until a major project was due the next day and he hadn't even started it. I helped for a bit, then went to bed. Left him to it thinking it would teach him a lesson. Well, it did, just not the one I wanted. Little shit got an A and then gloated about how great he was for getting it done last minute. Said the other kids were losers for wasting time. He was 9. I'm still mad at that teacher. The project was crap. Shouting at them instead of having a conversation. And insisting they are in the right. Not apologize when they are wrong. I've never heard my mum apologize to me ever. She said many hurtful things to me in the past that I've never let go of because she never came to apologize for any of the things she said. If she had simply apologized and admitted that what she said was wrong and hurtful, I think that things between us would be so much better. Might sound a little contradictory, but either not disciplining them or disciplining them way too much. I always think of that episode of The Simpsons where they show Ned Flanders as a child growing up. His parents were so messed up. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Over sheltering them. You can't protect your kids 24/7 for their whole lives. It leads to naive adults that get taken advantage of. It also creates very anxious adults. Putting excessive pressure on their children to meet their own unfulfilled aspirations. Forgetting that a kid's brain isn't fully developed like their own. Also, shaming in any way of something your kid is into. Trying to learn about it is actually quite helpful and a good way to connect. And, parents can learn things that they like too. I didn't know I liked Perseveral until my 12-year-old liked them and I wanted to check them out. Also, shaming your kids' interests is a great way to ensure they won't come to you with problems. If you want your kid to be open, you can't punish openness even if it is awkward or weird to you. Try to fill every minute with organized activities such as traveling, sports leagues. Don't get me wrong, some extracurricular activities are good, but when your kids never have an unaccounted for minute, I think it has a negative impact. And can lead to burnout for a sport they once loved. Comparing them with other kids. This girl never eats chocolate. She doesn't want to get fat, something to consider. That girl got all A's this quarter. I feel like the only one of my friends not attending honor society gatherings to celebrate my children's achievements. When are you going to make the honor society? It's embarrassing. If you don't get those grades up, you'll be scrubbing their toilets when you grow up. Not discussing money with them. I'm not saying parents should dump their financial stress on their kids, but things like budgeting, taxes, and personal finance discussions would have helped me tremendously. I heard a father talking to his small daughter, between 6 and 8 years old, about budgeting. We were in a bookstore and she wanted to buy a book. He told her that she could buy any book she wanted, but that she had to keep in mind how much money she was allowed during their vacation. He went through the math with her. He discussed possibilities of other purchases later on during their trip. He continuously reminded her that it was her money and she could use it however she liked, but to remember how much total money she had. He was so patient, gentle, and real with her. It was an awesome learning experience for me, especially since I have a baby. My mom always said that we didn't have enough money, she would hoard it in a sock, and is just stingy all around. Definitely want to break that cycle with my child. Edit, spelling. Not encouraging them to learn basic skills like cooking for fear it'll mark enemy S's. I love my mom. She's my hero. She raised my brother and I as a single mother working a night shift for most of our childhood. But the woman never taught me how to do a damn thing because she's a perfectionist and wants things done her way, and it's faster just to do it herself. She even cleaned our bedrooms. It wasn't about spoiling us, she just wanted everything the way she wanted to. I moved out of home at 19 into my first apartment and realized I didn't know how to do much of anything on terms of keeping a home nice. I'm 37 now and still not particularly great at it, but that's on me at this point. My kids have chores now because of this. Thinking them as property. We all understand parents are responsible for the offspring's actions, but they ain't property. A lot of parents also have this superiority complex where they think they are better than their kids just because they are older. Refusing to be wrong or take accountability. Being wrong is okay and it can be a learning moment for both of you. Randomly punishing your kid for being right or potentially right cause they argued may make it so they never ask you anything again. To add on, when the child tries to explain how something makes them feel, being told to just drop it. All because they don't want to acknowledge that their actions have hurt their kid. My mom refuses to let us talk about how her actions hurt us when myself and sisters were children. Either by saying that didn't happen or doesn't want to admit that her abandoning us and treating her stepchildren and their children better than she does her own. Posting them on social media. Clarification. When they get disciplined and amp, it gets recorded and amp, posted online. Not respecting their privacy. There's this video of some kids' parents recording them, can't find it, and then reacting to their report card. On camera. That poor kid. Never telling them no. This one is huge. I've been a teacher for 20 years and I've seen the consequences of this over and over. I'd watch a friend parent their kids this way and think, that's going to cause problems, only to see those problems firsthand 10 years later in school. Some of the kids I've seen raised this way are becoming young adults and they generally can't handle life at all. They are entitled, inept, disorganized. But worst of all, they have no sense of boundaries, not in friendships, school or work settings. As a general statement to anyone reading, please do not do this to your kids. Set boundaries, have reasonable expectations, and stick to them. Not respecting their privacy because it's their home. Barging into their room, asking them to leave the door open, etc. It give kids anxiety. And it last. I moved to my own place and sometimes I still look at the door expecting it to open, etc. My parents often removed my room's door completely out of the hinges because they felt I was too much on my PC towards the evening, on weekends, so they wanted to see when I was still on my PC so they could remove the breaker for my room. I still sometimes pause videos that I feel like my parents would consider weird or make jokes about, simply because I think they might be about to come in. It pisses me off. Telling them that's nothing to be sad over, some kids don't even have. Now I repress my feelings and cry whenever I have to let them out, never believing they're valid. Damn, there would be times where I'd have to suck it up because apparently crying over something is weak. Yelling at your child. Never admitting you're wrong. Having kids to repair a relationship. Trying to force your kid to wear certain clothes, makeup. Telling your kid not to be so sensitive. Getting drunk every weekend and amp, then pretending like you don't have a problem. Screaming at your kid for several hours while drunk, forgetting about it completely, then buying an I'm sorry breakfast the next day. Not going to marriage therapy when marriage is having problems. Telling your 13-year-old kid about specifics of your mental health problems. Comparing your kids to each other. Idealizing one kid. Scapegoating one kid. Having totally different private and public personas. Years later pretending you never said a damp, did all those things to your kid that you did do and damp, then on the off chance they have proof of those things, gaslighting the fuck out of them and telling them it was so long ago, just forget about it. I probably can think of more. Not allowing their children to have privacy. My mom always said that kids don't need privacy, because their mother should know everything about them. Guilt tripping them. Yelling at them for dropping, breaking, spilling stuff. Not their fault. And way to teach them they can't come to you when they accidentally fuck up in the future. My niece was yelled at by her dad when she spilled juice and she would shake every time she spilled or dropped something after that. I would have to be all, "It's okay, look, we are already cleaning it up, it's okay." Forcing them to interact with their adult friends, then ridiculing them for not wanting to socialize with rando adults, and then humiliating them by bringing up an embarrassing moment as a hilarious anecdote. Come on down and say hi. Oh, look, WHO finally decided to join us. Oh, this is the funniest thing. Did you know she still wet her bed until she was 6? 6. Ahahaha. Oh shit, this one is so bad. Having the most traumatic moments of your life reduced to giggly anecdotes for a bunch of drunk adult strangers. Not telling them why a decision was made if they ask. The cause I said so or don't talk back to adults is so damaging. Try to keep their kids from making mistakes. Mistakes are good teaching moments, and when you are a kid, the consequences are the least serious. This would lead to more honesty and openness, since kids wouldn't feel okay with discussing a mistake with you, because they know you want to help them grow from it. Instead, parents are making their kids keep secrets out of fear they will be punished, instead of taught how to better handle the situation. Having a toxic relationship and staying together for the sake of the kids. Took me way too long to find this, it's one of the worst ones. Ruins a child's idea of love, relationships, marriage, etc. Not worrying about the easy and uncomplicated kids, who are always well behaved or already so grown up because they had to. They usually are like that for a reason and will probably grow into people pleasers who struggle to set boundaries and stand up for themselves. Oof, this one hit close to home. Shouting makes kids scared of it, not a good thing to be scared of as an adult. Saying you should smile more when the kid has a good reason to be miserable about. Passing on food issues by commenting on their children's weight or what they eat, etc. Or commenting on their own weight and food habits, always dieting and putting themselves down. I am so lucky my parents and family have a healthy relationship with food, and thus I do as well. I have adult friends who have all kinds of messed up food issues precisely because their parents messed them up. Forcing kids to finish everything on their plate when they don't want to eat anymore. Kids need to learn to eat when they are hungry and stop when they are not. Even if they are not eating because they are acting out, it won't hurt them eating a little less at one meal. Food should never be forced. Forcing their kid to do something they really hate doing because it'll be good for them. That's not how it works. You should encourage your kid to do things, but you should also be able to tell when they really don't want to. It'll just have the opposite effect otherwise. Edit, specifically when they really don't want to continue doing that activity. Give it a couple tries. Unloading their stress and issues on kids. That's what therapy is for. Kids need to feel safe, protected, loved, etc. This one hit home. My dad has used me as a stress dump for over a year. I was 13 at the time and now way too much of an adult when I'm still supposed to not have to worry about adult issues. Another thing, lashing out at your kids when stressed is a big no-no. Forcing them to hug people, friends, family members, when they say they don't want to. All you're teaching them is to put other people's feelings above their own discomfort. Bonus points for guilt trips. Well, if I don't get a hug, then I won't give you this toy I bought for you. Please don't teach my child to give physical affection in exchange for gifts. I was raised this way and was such a people pleaser. I would make my life as difficult as possible to make sure I don't inconvenience a soul. It's a lot of work to unlearn it. We instituted hand hugs. I have a 3-year-old. Just like a high five, but you wrap your thumb around the other person's hand like a hug. My son loves it. I'll add my 2 cents here. Not seeking therapy for kids who are showing signs of depression or other mental issues because they think they are just a little sad or he'll get over it. I asked my parents why they ignored me telling them I had stomach aches every single day for years as a kid. They laughed and said, oh, we thought it was just anxiety, and I still wonder why they thought it was okay for a 5-year-old to have anxiety. Realized 20 years later I had a dairy intolerance, and it was the huge glass of milk they made me drink every single morning. They also managed to completely miss some pretty worrying OCD-like behaviors, and chalked them down to me being a bit weird. Telling your kids they are so smart constantly when they are excelling in primary school, but then expecting the exact same grades and chastising them for being lazy once they hit middle school and the work actually becomes difficult. You are not pushing them to do better. All you've done is instill this idea that they've peaked early and that they are a failure and a disappointment for not being a genius, because everything used to be so easy and suddenly it's hard and everyone is mad at them. Ask me how I know. Parents, reward honesty, hard work and a good attitude. Don't attach your kids' worth to their grades and test scores. Also, the difficulty jump for things like math is absurd between primary and secondary school, so expect some struggle. Not to mention puberty is happening at that time and absolutely fucking with the kids' emotions. Deleted. Overprotective and always having to be right. Also being too strict. Mind games. I don't know about other parents, but mom knows how to mess with my head. She doesn't do it intentionally, or as well as her mom does, but it has messed me up for years and now I don't have enough confidence to stop being a people pleaser or really speak my mind. Giving them stupid names or with stupid spellings. I'm a stupidly named person and I completely agree. Both my parents are dead and I'm an older millennial and honestly I'm still fucking mad about it. So shitty of parents to do this. Preparing the path for their kid, instead of the kid for their path. Not letting them struggle. I don't mean parents should never help, but running in to fix every difficulty teaches kids to think they can't solve problems. Help them by asking questions. By encouraging them to explore solutions, not by clearing every obstacle in their path. And then help them to reflect on the process. Praise them for their effort and their persistence. Let them learn to view mistakes and failures as part of the process. Let them own their successes and be proud that they worked hard. That's good parenting right there. My parents just fixed everything right down to my own homework because they realized it would be quicker. Took me ages to realize that I can do things and that I'm not dumb. Well, I'm still dumb but not that dumb. Teaching them that being hit is okay when it's from someone who loves you and as a punishment given by them because they love you. The number of people who still justify it with I was hit as a child and I turned out okay, completely missing that they've been conditioned into thinking assaulting children is not only acceptable but necessary is appalling. To want to be their best friend, not their parent. Or to an extension, using this as a get out of parenting free card. Having arbitrary rules which they drop for the younger kids or apply to different different kids. We have very few rules but we discuss why we have them with our kids, and if we think they're not working we talk about that with them. Comparing them to other kids. I vividly remember all the times I was like 6 and my dad sat me down to watch kids my age with amazing talents and ask, when are you gonna play guitar like this? He thinks I don't remember but I so do. not realizing that they have the same emotions and experiences as adults, without the years of figuring it out. They are literally little people. Anything you wouldn't do to an adult you certainly shouldn't do to a child. You don't hit an adult when they are wrong. You don't scream at them. You treat them with the same dignity and respect as anybody. Bullying their own kids and then telling them they need to toughen up and grow a thicker skin when the kid get upset. Like whatever happened to just treating your kids with respect and kindness so they in turn would treat others with respect and kindness? Also, completely disrespecting their kids' boundaries when they say no. If you don't listen when your kid is telling you no, why would your kid think that anyone else is going to listen to them when they say no? I think your own parents being your biggest bully growing up is a topic that seriously needs more research. And I don't mean just the obviously abusive kind. I mean the subtle bullying, constantly telling your kids they can do better so why aren't they getting better grades, the constant bringing up embarrassing shit that happened when they're kids, the pranks that makes your kid embarrassed and uncomfortable and then telling them they can't take a joke, forcing your kids in situations where they are clearly uncomfortable and doing nothing to make them feel better or secure. Thinking kids owe their parents shit for providing food, shelter, etc. Wanting kids to be thankful is one thing sure, but a lot of parents think the basic necessities are something they have to be thankful for all their life no matter what. It's hurtful for both parties. Kids didn't ask to be born. It's a lifelong commitment for the parents. Talk to your kids. Provide and don't think you're a messiah for doing things you're supposed to do as a parent. My mom told me way too often I gave up so much for you I really feel like a problem 80% of the time and if I don't people please I feel physically sick. Setting boundaries is so hard for me even at 30 with 5 years of constant therapy. Don't do that to your kids. No contact guaranteed. Have them. Some people should just really not have kids. Most people want a baby. A child or a teenager has too much free will to be a living doll for them. Making their purpose in life their children. Your parents' purpose and self-worth will be dependent upon your actions. Letting your parents down etc.